Tucker with the Rockingham County branch of NAACP. I'm the political action chairperson. Thank you all for joining us on tonight. We have the opportunity to speak with some candidates who are going to be on our primary ballot. Now, I know some of you may have already voted, and that's fine, but those who have not will have an opportunity to see maybe a few of the candidates highlighted on tonight as we speak with them and hear from them, and then give you all an opportunity to ask questions. I'm very grateful to have this opportunity to partner with North Carolina 100 and the Forward the Count, two wonderful groups that are doing great things within our community with across this state, and are providing amateurs like me an opportunity such as this that we might come together with high technology to be able to share with our candidates. Due to the COVID environment that we still continue to find ourselves, we thought it best maybe not to try an in-person forum, but we wanted to use technology to at least be able to allow you as the voters an opportunity to hear from the candidates. So I'm very pleased and thankful that Monica Gibbs is with us tonight. She's going to serve as our moderator on tonight. Also want to give thanks to Isaiah Withers, Merle Holloway, and Danye for getting this all set up for us, providing flyers that hopefully some of you got on your Facebook page, through your churches, through emails. And we just have a opportunity tonight to hear from some of the candidates. We're asking the candidates to provide a couple of minutes to introduce themselves, and then Monica will ask them questions that they have not seen on tonight. And so this will be an opportunity for them to speak on the fly and be able to share with you their views, their comments, their thoughts. And then you, as the audience, as I said, will have an opportunity to put your questions in the chat. And then at the appropriate time, Monica will let us know when we will have an opportunity to have your question answered. All right, so I've set the stage, and at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Monica Gibbs, who will introduce to you the candidates who are going to be with us on tonight. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rochelle, for having us. Again, my name is Monica Gibbs of Forward the Count, which is a campaign of North Carolina 100. And so Forward the Count works to mobilize and organize in rural communities. And so we've done some work in Rockingham County in that area. And so we are happy to partner with Ms. Rochelle on tonight. And so I will be moderating. I will be asking the questions. From the candidates that we have with us. Tonight, we're going to hear from two House candidates, and we also have a video from one of the Board of Education at-large candidates. And so basically, our format was that we asked that if you could not attend tonight to send in a video. So the videos were optional. And then we also asked, of course, if you could show up on this platform and share with us. And so the questions in the video that was asked were basically, we asked them to share with us why they're seeking election, as well as why should the citizens of Rockingham County vote for them. And so we're going to ask the viewers that are watching to please share this on your platform, share with your friends, and then also put questions in the chat. We're going to have a portion where we will pull some of your questions and ask those to our candidates that are here with us tonight as well. And so we'll get started with our first video. We're going to watch a video from Board of Education candidate Paula Rakestraw. And so we could see that video. And again, the video will be asking, the question was, why were they seeking election and why should the citizens vote for them?
My name is Paula Rakestraw, and I am running for one of the 3 at-large seats for the Rockingham County Board of Education. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this video since I am not able to be at your candidates forum on Thursday evening. This has been really helpful and I really appreciate it. I just want to real quickly tell you a little bit about myself and tell you about what the reasons why I want to run for the school board. I grew up here in Rockingham County, graduated from Rockingham County High School, received a bachelor's degree from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro in Child Development and Family Relations. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been married for, it'll be 31 years this August. We have 3 children. All 3 of our children went through the Rockingham County schools. 2 of my children have graduated from the Rockingham County School District, and my youngest is now a sophomore at Rockingham County High School. So I've been very invested in our school system, even prior to being on our school board. My other experience has been, I've been a preschool teacher. I've been a child care center director and owner. I was the founding director for the Rockingham County Partnership for Children, which is our local Smart Start agency, and our focus there was, and still is, on children and families birth to 5, and making sure that those students are healthy and ready to succeed. The reason why I'm most wanting to continue my work with the Board of Education, I've had the opportunity to be a school board member for the last 3.5 years. I'm finishing my first term, and I'm running for a second term. And the reason I decided to run for a second term is because there's a few things that I still would like to see us work on. One is to continue work with our Head Start program. I'm really excited that we had the opportunity to take on the Head Start program in our school system, because I think that early childhood, a child's early development is so crucial in their success in school. And so with that, we've been able to pay attention to the quality and making sure that the quality education that all of our children are getting, but especially our Head Start students, who are our most vulnerable, our lowest socioeconomic students. So the hope is that we can certainly utilize, this is one resource that we have that can help us reduce that disproportionate learning gap that we hear so much about. Another reason why I want to be on our school board is I want to continue work with our strategic plan. Our strategic plan that will work to better the success of all of our students, to give them opportunities to be the best student, the best citizen that they can be, the best graduate that they can be. And I really want to continue my work with that. I'm really excited about the principal and the teacher and the community advisory councils that we've put together to work on those strategic plan. But I'm most excited about our parent and our student advisory councils that we've put together, because one of the things that I love the most about Head Start and about what we're doing with our strategic plan is the involvement of our families in the students' education, in what's going on in our school, the services that we provide, the education that we're giving our students. It's important that parents come alongside the school system and we have a partnership in delivering quality education for all of our students. So my time is about up, but I just want to say thank you again, and I would appreciate your vote. Again, my name is Paula Rakestraw. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rakestraw, for submitting that video. And before we move on with our next candidate, I want to remind the viewers to go ahead and start putting questions or comments or concerns in the chat. We will read them at a certain point tonight. So we're going to move right along into our first candidate, who is a candidate for the North Carolina House of Representatives. His name is Mr. Jay Donaker. Jay did something a little different. He decided to send us a video as well as show up tonight. And so we thank you for going above and beyond, Mr. J. And we're more thankful to have you here. And so let's take a look at Mr. Donaker's video.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Jay Donaker. I am one of 2 candidates for the Democratic nomination to represent Rockingham County in the North Carolina General Assembly. I am on the primary ballot on May 17th. My campaign is based on common sense, common decency by someone who has worked 16 years as mayor of Reidsville in finding common ground to solve issues presented before us. This attitude I would like to take to the General Assembly. My campaign is going to focus on eliminating the grocery tax. In the face of a General Assembly that is reducing the C corporation tax rate because we have surpluses, let's pause that process and instead eliminate the grocery tax, in which we all pay and is especially hurtful for families with growing children and those on fixed income. Secondly, we need to expand Medicaid. We have 2 hospitals in this county who need to be sustained and supported by the expansion of Medicaid. Both of them have spent over $8 million in the previous year taking care of those who are unable to pay their medical bills or unwilling to. Bottom line is, we need Medicaid expansion to keep those hospitals solvent. In addition, we all pay federal income tax, and those taxes are going to help other states expand their Medicaid when North Carolina isn't. It just does not make business sense. Thirdly, we need to stop fighting our courts and the General Assembly fighting those courts about providing a sound, basic education to our children. Instead, we need to find middle ground that will be supported by both the Democratic and the Republican parties so that we can fulfill our constitutional obligation of providing a sound, basic public education to all children here in North Carolina. As you have heard, there's a common theme to my campaign. Again, it's about common sense, common decency, and being promoted by somebody who has walked the path of finding common ground on sometimes very thorny issues. We are in a very divisive political climate at the moment, but the only way we're going to change that is by electing legislators who will look for common ground and lead from the middle. I have a proven track record of doing that, and those who are Democratic voters, I would appreciate your support on May 17th. Those who are unaffiliated voters, you may ask for the Democratic ballot and vote for me on May 17th. Thank you for this opportunity to explain my campaign platform to you.
Again, thank you for being here with us. Before we go into questions, and first off, I want to say I have me over here. I'm going to ad lib a little bit because you answered some of the questions that I was going to ask you in your video, and so I'm going to kind of shift around a little bit. But before I start the questions, take a few minutes and just tell us who you are. Some people are not familiar with you, and I think your platform doesn't really give us a full picture or glimpse of like who you are as a person and what you would like to share with us about yourself.
You bet. I've been a practicing veterinarian now for over 40 years. I came to Rockingham County in 1987 to raise a family here, and it's been a great place to raise a family, and it's been just a wonderful experience, both from our family point of view, but also professionally. So I worked as a partner in Reidsville Veterinary Hospital for 15 years. I then was recruited to work for Pfizer nationally, again, still in Reidsville. I just had to travel a fair amount for them. And then I finished my last 7 years of my career having started a company in which now I've trained my successor and it's a startup biotech company that is now in the throes of being purchased by a larger entity. At the same time, I've served 4 terms as mayor of Reedsville, 2 terms each time because I do believe in term limits. During this time, from 1997 to just recently when I finished my 4th term, I've always worked to find common ground to address a number of issues that have been presented to our council, whether it's the replacing the statute to put it in a place of appropriate location that would satisfy as many people as possible in the middle, or negotiating a water deal with the city of Greensboro 20 years ago that has provided $19 million of revenue, or advocating not to have involuntary annexation that, even though it would be benefit to the city of Reedsville, it was flat out wrong. And so I spent my career as a politician trying to navigate and doing what's best for the vast majority of people that I represent, but at the same time listening to the people on either ends of the political spectrum, because even on either ends of the political spectrum, there is some truths that you can tease out and find common ground for everybody. I truly believe in leading from the middle, and we need more politicians who understand that politics is a good thing. That's how our society governs itself. That's how our society stays safe and secure. But we need people who don't have their allegiance to the party first, but have their allegiance to the citizens who elect them first. And so here I am.
Thank you so much. And I would like to add that Mr. Doniker is one of 4 House of Representative candidates that are running to represent Rockingham County. And so we will move into our questions. And so, Mr. Doniker, as you know, the NAACP is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And so this first question is going to be directly related to the mission of the NAACP. And we just want to get a feel for how you serve in terms of people of color. And so the first question would be, why should African Americans, Hispanics, and other people of color vote for you?
That actually is a very good question, and that is basically the essence of why I'm here at the NAACP forum. I truly believe that representatives should reflect the views of the entire community. I also, as mayor, truly believe that our workforce for the city of Reedsville should reflect our community. I've worked very hard to make sure that as many people have opportunity from within our city to have our city jobs. We, until recently, never had an African-American police chief. We now have, who has gone on to greater things, but we have. We had a problem with a lack of diversity within our fire department. Over a period of years, we've addressed that issue. Issues such that involve our members of color of our community really are issues that touch people like me as well. And I say that because we have to be fair across the board in our hiring practices and also how we treat employees within the city of Reedsville. And we have done that. And we have achieved to a certain degree the level of diversity that we should have in the city of Reedsville, but we're not there yet. I truly looked upon my role as mayor as being a bridge. And the bridge was from old school way, 1997, to the new school way, which is represented by Mayor Donald Gorham, who has just recently been elected mayor of the city of Reedsville. So the issue of having everybody represented appropriately is an ongoing issue. I would not have been mayor if it wasn't for the NAACP raising the issue about with the Voting Rights Act in 1992, in which the 5 council members for the city of Reedsville did not accurately reflect our community. It was only because the Voting Act was invoked that we then had to go to a 7-member in which 2 members were at large, 2 members were from 2 different districts, and the mayor was elected at large. It's only because of the efforts by the NAACP in 1992 that I ever had a chance of being elected in 1997. Being fair and just in our society is everybody's responsibility and goal.
And we're going to go to the next question, which is, what do you feel are the most challenging issues facing Rockingham County?
Well, there's a number. First is we have a declining population. And there's a number of reasons why we have a declining population. We have an aging population as well. We have a county that unfortunately has not received the resources necessary from the state to keep its educational system at the level that's competitive even within North Carolina. Other counties are able to get other revenue streams to bulk up their educational system. We do not have that ability in Rockingham County because the vast majority of us have modest incomes. This is exactly why there is a lawsuit that was determined by the Supreme Court that we are not developing a sound basic education throughout North Carolina. The rich counties have been able to achieve it. The modest income counties like Rockingham County have not. So that's one issue. Second issue that's staring us right in the face is we have two hospitals, as you heard in my video message. They have spent $8 million of uncompensated care each this last year. I do not know any business, and I've been involved with a large corporation, a startup, and a small business. None of them would ever accept for an extended period of time of losing or having an accounts receivable of $8 million per year. That tells me that both our hospitals need our support. Those jobs that aren't being filled because those hospitals don't have the funds coming in from Medicaid expansion are affecting everybody in this county. Even those that have insurance, our rates are higher because of those that are unable to pay or afford good quality care. At the same time, we have many people who don't have health insurance and wait till they have a terrible condition before they ever seek medical help. And that affects all of us. We saw that in COVID, and we don't want to have that continue. So those are the two basic problems that are staring all of Rockingham in the face. And the final one, this grocery tax. We are all spending, if you look at your grocery receipt from Food Line or Lowe's or wherever, you'll see this 2%. And North Carolina will crow that, oh, we don't have sales tax of 4 3/4 on our food. Well, they do. It's only at 2%. That touches everybody. And if you add up those receipts over a year's time, we're being nickel and dimed. That is a regressive tax that affects families with large numbers of children that are growing, healthy appetites, my kids had it too, and people on fixed incomes. While we have a General Assembly that is looking to help the corporations have a lower tax rate, let's stop that right now. And let's get rid of the grocery tax that all of us are being nickel and dimed over throughout the entire year.
The next question that I'm going to ask you is related to voting and elections. And it is, what measures do you support to improve and secure elections and voting in your community?
Well, I'm a big fan of allowing those that want to vote by absentee to be able to vote by absentee, and they do not have to give a reason. They just have to contact the Board of Elections to get an absentee ballot and mail it in. I'm also a fan of 2 weeks prior to the election day that there's early voting. I also believe that there should be at least one full weekend, not just Saturday and Sunday, so that people can come and vote. We have to give as many people as possible the easiest access to get to the voting booth to vote. All our citizens should vote, and it's a disgrace for the percentage that do. And it's not because people don't want to oftentimes, it's because they're too busy taking care of their family and working jobs. So we have got to have 2 weeks prior, including one full weekend. And during that time, hopefully somebody will have time off that they can get to the polls.
Thank you. Okay, we have two more questions. The next question will be, how will you work to increase job opportunities for your constituents?
Good question. Since 1997, I've worked to attract industries here to Rockingham County, both in Reidsville and outside of Reidsville. We have an Israeli company, a couple Italian companies, a Brazil company, and an Australian company. Attracting jobs is very important. Incentives plays a part. But we have to remember that right now we have a very low unemployment rate. So there is a time and a place to pull out all stops to bring the right company to that is going to pay above what the going rate is for a number of our jobs that are here in Rockingham County. But there has to be a balance. We cannot give away the whole store just to get one company here in Rockingham County. We have got to take care of the citizens that are already living here, and giving tax incentives to corporations just so that they can have employees here and pay them at a very low rate that's maybe average for our county is not the kind of company that we should attract. One of the cornerstones that all companies look at before they look at a county is the educational framework that's present. And we could do all our citizens give them a better chance of having better paying jobs, to having a better educational system here, so that when a corporation wants to hire somebody with a little bit more education or coming out of high school, they know that their level of education is adequate for them to hire. We will provide that.
Thank you so much. I know that I said we would ask two more questions, but we want to keep up with the time. We do have another candidate, and then we want to move into the questions from the viewers. So that is going to be my last question, but I would like to give you the opportunity, just if you have any other words that you'd like to share, or any last comments for the viewers and for voters.
Just one brief one. Ann and I raised our family here. This has been a great place to raise our children in Rockingham County, North Carolina. But just imagine how amazing this place would be if we had two political parties that could work together for the benefit of all citizens. I personally want to work to that goal. It will be an amazing place in Rockingham County if we get our two political parties to work together for the benefit of all. And I, for one, would like to be able to be the person to lead from the middle.
Thank you so much. If you will hang out with us, we'll have a portion towards the end where we'll talk in open discussion about some of the needs of the community. You'll be able to chime in or just listen, if you will. And so again, thank you for coming and being here with us tonight.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next North Carolina House of Representative candidate, one of four for Rockingham County. It is Mr. Gary Smith. Good evening, Mr. Smith. I'm not able to. Are you muted? If we'll give Mr. Smith a couple of minutes to get his sound fixed, and we can go to some of the questions that the public has asked. And so we're going to have Isaiah Withers, who is my co-coordinator of For the Count, come on and just share with us some of the questions that people have on the side in the chat.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Monica. And please, everybody, keep raising questions in the comment section on our streaming platforms for our candidates tonight. We will keep check on them. We have two questions so far. The first question is, if North Carolina were to expand Medicaid, how would the state raise funds to pay its portion? And that's the first question that we have. If North Carolina were to expand Medicaid, how would the state raise funds to pay its portion? And the last and second question that we have for tonight is, I want to know, how are we going to better educate our city school system? I want to know, how are we going to better educate our city school system?
Some issues with his mic, and they're trying to fix that. Does Mr. Doniker want to answer either of those questions?
I'd be more than happy to. I like the Medicaid expansion one first. We cannot not afford to expand Medicaid. The way that we would pay for it is, number one, we're already paying for it through our federal income tax. The state at this very moment has surplus revenues. The vast majority of states have found that to be able to pay 5 or 10% of the total burden for Medicaid, it was able easily to be found. We will find that will also be the case in North Carolina. We will also, as citizens, have lower insurance rates. It's been estimated at 7%. We will also have 2 hospitals that will be sustained in our county. There is no business reason for us not to expand Medicaid. I believe it's now 37, 38 states have expanded when they looked at it. If there's any concern that we cannot afford it, we could always put a clawback provision in our Medicaid bill so that if for any reason the state can't make its obligation or the federal government cannot make its obligation, we can pull out. Other states have added that, and the federal government is comfortable with that, and it's appropriate. And that's what I would recommend. So the bottom line answer is we can't afford it, and that there are more reasons for us that is hurting us by not expanding Medicaid at this moment from the business point of view.
So Isaiah, would you like to repeat that other question and give Mr. Doniger a chance to answer that as well, if he wishes?
Yes, absolutely. Our second question was, they want to know, how are we going to better educate our city school system? I want to know, how are we going to better educate our city school system? And also too, because it seems like they added a little bit more into this question that they might have left out when they typed it up. They just placed in the chat, along with that, is what are the plans for better educating young learners who have wishes to further their education? So it kind of combines with that second question. What are the plans for better educating young learners who have wishes to further their education?
Those are good questions. Now, of course, we only have county schools here. I do have to call out Reedsville High School. They were one of 2 identified as being excellent in having a greater than 90% graduation rate. The improvement where I will be able to advocate at the General Assembly is to have the state meet its obligation of fully funding school districts such as Rockingham County's to the level that a sound basic education will be delivered. How that is going to be delivered, what specific improvements that are going to be made, in my opinion, should not be up to the General Assembly, but instead should be up to the county school district. And so I am not going to answer directly about how specifically young learners could be improved, because to me, that would be micromanagement coming from the General Assembly. First step in the process, though, is stop fighting the courts. The Supreme Court decisions, there were 2 of them, in which we have been found to be less than adequate in funding the education in counties such as ours. My obligation going to the General Assembly is to make sure that we fulfill that, and we stop fighting, and we sit down with our budget writers and say, okay, how do we need to expend funds so that counties like Rockingham County can deliver a sound basic education for all students, which at this point has been found to be deficient.
And so I believe we want to try Mr. Smith again to see if he can, his sound is fixed. Mr. Smith, I believe that you are muted. I'm not able to hear you. Okay, we'll go back and we'll pull another question from the chat. And after this, Mr. Smith is not able to get his sound before this event is over, we'll find a way, maybe perhaps to have him submit his answers through video or just another option to record, and we'll share it on the NAACP platform so that he will get the opportunity to answer the same questions as Mr. Doniker has. So Isaiah, do we have another question?
Yes, we have one more question here in our comment section. And the question states, with a decline in population in Rockingham County, especially among our youth, how do we appeal to the younger generation to take an higher education and bring it back to Rockingham County in order to ensure a brighter future for the county?
Man, that is $1 million question.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I appreciate that question being asked. That is a hard question. I don't think we really know. What I do know is that if we can provide a sound basic education so that our students can pursue their dreams, either within Rockingham County or outside of Rockingham County, a certain percentage will stay here. The more opportunities that we provide in Rockingham County for these students pursuing their dreams, the better chance we have of attracting them back here. One of the initiatives that I have started at the City of Reidsville is to promote the City of Reidsville within our military, because there are many veterans who retire after 15, 20, 25 years. And if you do the math, when they get in at 18 years of age, they're basically middle-aged and they have high skills. That's one group that we need to attract back. We also need to have more training in which you don't have to go to a 4-year college. There are a lot of medical technology jobs that are needed right here in Rockingham County, whether it's a paramedic, EMT, nursing, associate nursing, I should say, phlebotomists, medical technologists, radiology technologists, many of which that we need to make our high school students aware and give them initial training in biology and the subjects that are necessary so that they can see these doors opening right here. And then many can be pursued at Rockingham County Community College. And then if they still want to stay here and keep that skill here, they will. If they want to take it elsewhere, so be it. But oftentimes, when students leave to pursue a job elsewhere, invariably, they're going to keep checking back here in Rockingham County. So it is going to be a multi-pronged approach. We do need to attract more young families here. One of the ways is to have a more robust educational system, which I already spoke to in the previous question. And it's something that isn't going to be solved overnight. There's not going to be a silver bullet, but you need somebody who's a problem solver in the General Assembly that remembers what Rockingham County needs, not what a party needs, what a philosophy associated with fiscal tax policy needs. It's what Rockingham County needs. And for somebody who's raised their family here and also seen the positive benefits of recruiting industry, the positive benefits of getting specific programs at RCC, welding, the nursing module at Moorhead High School. These are things that we need to explore and expand on. But for that, we need better funding from the state.
Thank you so much for answering those questions from our viewers. we're going to try Mr. Smith one more time before we go into our next discussion. Mr. Smith, can we get him pulled up? Do you have sound, Mr. Smith? So again, what we would like to do is offer the opportunity for him to come on, maybe either live on another day, or a chance to submit it by video so that he can have the opportunity, because he did, show up to the platform, and we want to do that to be fair to both candidates. And so do apologize for your technical issues, Mr. Smith. And so we're going to just have an open discussion about some community engagement issues, and just chat with Ms. Rochelle about the NAACP. Isaiah, did you want to go? We'll go on into this next part. Okay, Ms. Rochelle. And so thank you for having us, and thank you for partnering with us. And so we would love to talk with you about what you feel are some of the issues with community engagement in Rockingham County. I do think tonight is a representation of when you extend, invites, and then you want to open the lines of communications with candidates and elected officials and the community. And sometimes you just don't have the participation. And so let's talk about why we believe that participation has been low, or what you think some of the issues are.
Yes, thank you, Monica. Yes, participation has been low, and I'm telling you guys, and I think we had talked about this a little bit before. I'm still trying to figure out what it is that we need to do to excite people. I push voting all the time, and I'm just, I know that a lot of these candidates make all kinds of promises, and then they get into office and the promises don't get fulfilled. And so people, young people, adults, or whoever said, I knew they were just lying. They were saying whatever they needed to say in order to just get into office. And so I'm not going to vote anymore because, my vote doesn't matter, or I'm tired of all of these lying politicians getting into office. They're not doing anything, just getting money. And so we try to, excite people or invite the young people that if you don't put at least a vote in the hat, then you don't really have anything to work with. And I think over time, back in the day, it just seemed to me that people were working together better with the different political parties. My father served the commissioner for over 20 some years to this county. And he sat at the table. He was a Democrat, but he sat with the Republicans, and they worked together because at the end of the day, it did not matter what party the commissioner was. It mattered on the other side of the table what they were going to do for the citizens of Rockingham County. And so I think people, and maybe the young people, have just gotten disenchanted or disgusted or upset with what they are seeing in terms of the leadership. Everybody's pointing a finger. The Democrats doing this, the Republicans are doing that. And nobody's just laying that aside and saying, hey, y'all, let's come to the table. It doesn't matter what party we are. Let's put some ideas on paper to move forward. So I think, Monica and Isaiah, I think that this crowd of young people is just different. And they're tired of all of this garbage that they're seeing. And so, they don't fight like we did. They don't get in the streets and march. They just move away and go and do something else or start their own group in order to fulfill their purposes. I don't know how we pull them back, but as an old school person, that's just kind of what I see. I may be totally off base and hope somebody can correct me, but that's just what I see right now.
And so really what I'm hearing you talk about is a lack of unity,
Yes.
and that it's gone away. And so you have groups such as for DeKalb, and Isaiah and I have done some redistricting work in Rockingham County, and hopefully we'll be able to move into some election protection work and maybe some other issues that stem from redistricting. And we're not leaving the Rockingham County. We want to continue partnering and have these discussions. And I do believe it does start with the discussion. And I know that life happens and some of the candidates
Yeah.
could not make it, but this was an opportunity tonight to share their platform and what their vision is, and then to make some the beginning steps of building a relationship with the groups such as NAACP. And there's other people who represent other groups that are watching that have questions that regardless of who the representatives are, I think you were talking about your dad, finding a way to work together. And that's what we need to
Yeah.
do. And that's what we would want to see in Rockingham County. And so Isaiah is a native of Rockingham County, and so is very passionate and very dedicated to doing this work. And Isaiah, if you have anything to add to the discussion, and then we're going to open up, if Mr. Donaker or Mr. Smith if would like to add as well.
No, I think so I want to thank the candidates for coming out tonight and responding to the questions that we have, and NAACP for putting this great event together. I think for me is to see more events like this moving forward. When our candidates are in those seats, candidates that do win, to create forums and spaces to make sure that the community's voices are being advocated for, but also how can we work together? How can we create committees where we're able to, on one hand, bring the concerns of the community, but also have our elected officials held accountable and to actually move our communities forward. So I would love to engage in the conversation around that and to come up with ideas of how we can do that. What would that look like to make sure that all our voices in our Black communities, in our communities in Rockingham County, are being put to the forefront and are being heard and advocated by our elected officials?
Yeah, yeah, I agree, Isaiah. I think that may be part of the disenfranchisement of the young people. Nobody's listening to them. And, maybe as older adults, we feel like we can make decisions for them, or we think that they ought to think like we do. But somebody needs to listen to them and come to the table. My beef now is nobody wants to talk. Everybody wants to send an email or want to send a text message. Sometimes you got to look eyeball to eyeball. I need to look across the table in your eyes, Isaiah and Monica, and you need to look at me, and we need to lay it on the table and not be mad at one another because my opinion may not be your opinion. Okay, let's put them together and see how we can work, as you said, Isaiah, to move forward, because that's the goal. Let's move forward. Let's better our communities. But if we're not willing to sit down and talk about it, then it's just a whole lot of chatter and folks just chatting it, blowing in the wind.
And for me, and if I can, Ms. Rochelle, to add into that, as we're talking about holding our elected officials accountable, but also myself and other organizers as well, to be sure that we are meeting our brothers and sisters where they are, and
Yeah,
what that looks like. Um, you know, as we know that Facebook, or we're on Facebook and we're through StreamYard, that may not be accessible for a lot of folks in our community. So that may mean that we have conversations at barbershops. That may mean that we have conversations at salons to get that conversation going, to move us in the right direction, to start building back up our communities, as you said, Ms. Rochelle, and getting the engagement up with our youth, and getting some things in order and organized.
And
yes,
Isaiah, I have a
absolutely.
question for you. Oh, Miss Rochelle, did you want to?
No, I was just gonna say somebody had run across. I saw it run across a comment. I think it was from
Yeah.
maybe your mom, Isaiah. We got to start somewhere with just one or two. Each one reach one. Yeah, we
That's right.
cannot stop. Yeah, everybody, even if it's just one or two, let's start with one or two and just move forward.
Miss Rochelle, so now everybody that's zooming in and tuning in, see where I get it from. So absolutely, my mom.
Right. That's good.
So the words right out of my mouth.
And I think we have at least maybe 5 more minutes before we have to go. But my question to Isaiah was, I think you mentioned that you were a part of a youth um, portion or a program that was a part of NAACP. I don't know if it still exists, but what would you say that you've seen change with the leaders that you saw as a child that really, like your mom and others, that really encouraged you and motivated you to become, who you are today? What would you say has changed now with our leaders?
Well, I wouldn't say what's changed, Monica. I think I'll take that question and the way that how was I reached, you know, um, to get more engaged. I'll say for me, for one, my mother and the work she does in the community. My father, McLaurin Funeral Home, and the work that was done in the community. And at that time, with Mr. Chris, who was in the NAACP, where I was able to, let my voice be heard alongside with a lot of my young comrades at that time that was going through that cycle. And I want to also say Miss Portia. But with what the uniquenesses of each person that I name is that I was met where I was. Miss Portia met me where I was, and before I could even get to the point of I wanted to get deeper into politics or do more organizing in the community, it started with having public speaking practices at the YMCA. It started with meet me at Mall Street and Library, and Miss Portia take me to the radio station and learning how to pronunciate my words properly to be able to say what I actually have on my mind. But it was being met at where I was. So I think that was one of the biggest highlighting themes of a lot of the mentors and leaders that I saw growing up, especially in my young years, especially Pastor Johnson as well. And the list goes on countlessly of incredible leaders that played an impact in my life. But I was met where I was and able to let my voice be heard in that manner, Monica. If that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. So this has been a great conversation, and I would love for us to continue. And I think we can go a lot deeper into what some of these issues are. We are going to try Mr. Smith one more time. And if we cannot make it work this time, we're going to schedule something to to help him be heard, to help him be able to answer these questions. And so we're going to try this again, Mr. Smith.
Good evening.
Oh, we have
Perfect.
him. We have his sound.
Gotcha.
Okay, this is great. So I'm going to
Okay.
give you a few minutes. We're going to extend it a little more because people want to hear what you have to say, and we definitely want to give you the opportunity. If you could just share with us for a few minutes on who you are and introduce yourself to the two people who may not know you.
Thank you and good evening. I want to first pay to the principal founder of this great organization, the Harvard-educated scholar and historian, Dr. William Edward Burghardt Du Bois, and to Chapter President Jeffrey Crisp and the other officers and members of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in attendance tonight. My name is Gary L. Smith. I am a candidate in the Democratic primary for the 65th House District seat in the North Carolina General Assembly. Some of you may remember my parents, the late Peter and Rosetta Smith, owners of Smith's Florist in Reedsville for close to 3 decades. Some of you may remember me. My campaign theme is overcoming obstacles of opposition. Certainly, I have encountered opposition this evening. I have 3 core issues my campaign is focused on. First of all, I believe both political parties need to work together in Raleigh in order for our public school employees to be paid what they deserve. Second, the minimum wage in this state and nation must be raised so that everyone willing and able to work has an affordable living wage. And third, that continued expansion of broadband internet across broadband internet access must be achieved right here in Rockingham County. Thank you very much.
You so much, and we'll move right into the questions. And I'm going to ask you the same questions that we gave to Mr. Doniker. So the first question is, why should African Americans, Hispanics, and other people of color vote for you?
They should vote for me not because I am of the same hue that they are or the same ethnicity, but because I promised to work in Raleigh to bring about change as far as our political discourse is concerned at the state level. We have so much hyper-partisanship in Raleigh that we can't get things done. As I mentioned to Congresswoman Kathy Manning last week, raising the minimum wage in this country used to be a bipartisan issue. We have had 5 Republican presidents to sign raises to the minimum wage over the years, but we haven't had a raise in the minimum wage since 2011, when President Obama raised the minimum wage to its present level. Now, I realize that the other argument about the minimum wage is that the market should determine wages, and in large part, the market does. But I can remember industries, high-paying industries that came to this area that set the tone for wages in industry and in service occupations. And there was always a raise in the minimum wage, but we haven't had one in over a decade now, and that needs to certainly change.
You. And so our next question is, what do you feel are the most challenging issues facing Rockingham County?
I thought the challenges facing Rockingham County are the challenges that faced most rural counties in this in North Carolina. Access to Medicaid expansion, broadband internet access, public school education. The Leandro case I found to be fascinating, and I certainly salute those who have tried to keep putting that forward and on the public agenda.
Okay, the next question is, what measures do you support to improve and secure elections and voting in your community?
Well, we've got to get people out to vote. First of all, we've got to make voting a priority. There is a debate to make voting a requirement, and I've talked to people around the county doing my electioneering at the voting sites, and it's a question that is being considered. Voting is a sacred right. This organization has fought the fight over the years to bring access to the ballot for people who were denied it, and it needs to continue. We have challenges in our democratic system of voting, and we need to work together to ensure that our challenges to our voting method and our voting system are overcome.
Thank you. And then the last question that I have for you is, how will you work to increase job opportunities for your constituents?
I believe that we need to keep moving forward. North Carolina's economy has been in transition from textiles and tobacco and furniture, and I think we need to move forward and embrace the clean energy economy. I know it's a favorite whipping boy for those who are opposed to it, but I think that is the way that we should go. There are over 400 clean energy jobs right now in Rockingham County. And we need to think in terms of that type of industry becoming part of our economy here. And I would work to bring those types of industries here. I agree with Jay that we don't have to give away the kitchen store, and we should not give away the kitchen store in order to bring a certain type of industry here. But I believe that the economy, the way that the clean energy economy has presented itself and continues to, will allow us to work so that we are doing what is needed in Rockingham County without compromising the county's finances or anything else.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith, I'm going to also give you the opportunity to leave us with any thoughts or any words that you have for the viewers and the voters and your community. You can do that now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you have already voted, you've already voted. But if you have not, on tomorrow, Friday, and then from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, you still have a chance at one of the early voting sites. And then on Tuesday is the primary. And I would encourage everyone to go out and vote for the candidate of your choice. It is your right, it is your privilege, and it is your duty to do so in a democratic system. Thank you.
Thank both of the candidates that we heard from tonight. We are very honored to be able to hear from you and hear your platforms and just having you here. I think somebody said it earlier that about the engagement and leadership being able to lend themselves to sharing with the community. So we thank you. And we're going to give it back to Ms. Rochelle, and she's going to close us out. Unless, Mr. Doniker, did you have any other words to share?
No, I think it's been, thank you for having this forum. We need to do more of this. Now that technology is allowing this, we should consider not only having candidates do this, but our representatives do this. There's no excuse now for somebody in Raleigh to talk to their constituents back here. And you can take down this as a promise from me. If I get elected, I am going to get involved with this forum after the election so you all can hold my feet to the fire.
Thank you.
And thank you, Monica, for leading this on tonight. I know we did not have a lot of the candidates who were able to come out tonight. However, we do understand that it was pushing us right towards the edge of the election, and we talked about that the other night. That as we move towards the November election, we do promise to get this in front of you guys, you as the voters, a little bit sooner so that you'll have more time, and hopefully the candidates who will be on the ballot in November will have the opportunity to come out and schedule time with us. I do, as was already said, encourage you all to go vote on tomorrow if you have not already done so, or vote on Saturday. And by all means, vote next Tuesday if you cannot vote early. We appreciate the opportunity we have to partner with North Carolina 100 and Forward the Count. Monica and Isaiah have done a great job. I had known Merrill before, and I appreciate the technology of Danya and those others who are able to cause this event to happen. And so just because we are still in a pandemic, it does not mean that we cannot be able to talk to one another. I know that broadband width is an issue. Sometimes the mics don't work. Sometimes we freeze up. That's a part of it. However, I think we are still able to get our points across and have this opportunity to share our views, our comments, concerns, and cares for our community. Thanks again to the candidates. Thank you, Facebook Nation, those of you who are on YouTube. Again, thank you, Monica, Isaiah, Merle. If you all don't have any parting words, we'll just say thank you. See you guys at the polls, and we'll look forward to another opportunity to speak with one another. Hope you have a great night on tonight.